If you could live green, would you? I'm Nick Federoff, host of Things Green, where we introduce nuggets of green lifestyle from gardening, upcycling, answering your questions, sustainability, even discussing environmental issues. You can become more confident in making the right decisions for you and your family. So come along as we are Things Green. So I wonder what happened. It's an age-old question. Did the egg come first or the plant in the egg? All right, we're going to do something that's a lot of fun today, and we're going to talk about some myths, because as we know, everything on the internet is just wrong except for anything that I put on there, right? Sorry, that's just the way that I feel. Anyway, so I've seen a lot of things on the internet, and it got me to thinking about it. And coupled the fact that I do have a whole bunch of chickens here at the thingsgreen.com Botanical Gardens, what are you going to do with all those eggs in the eggshells? Well, if you followed us from past shows, I showed you how to take eggshells and you would use them for your yard and garden. Now the problem is a lot of people will just take these shells and they'll just kind of go like this, and then they throw them inside their plants. Well, that's cute, except for the fact that it's going to take 2 to 3 years for that to break down. Instead, what we want to do is we want to take the eggshells, we want to put them on a cookie sheet or put them in a dehydrator, and you want to, at a very low heat, you want to take these things and you want to cook them. And you want to kind of cook them until they get a little bit on the brownish side. Even if they are white eggs, you want them to get a little bit on the brownish side or kind of on the tannish side. Then you could take those things and then you can grind them down with a pestle and mortar or put them in a blender, and you want to make a powder out of it. When you make a powder out of it, what you're doing is you're creating some uber awesome calcium. It's a whole lot easier to do that than to bring a cow out and milk it on your garden. So there's a lot of calcium within these things. But what are some of the other things that we have seen? Well, I started looking around and I realized that, hey, why don't we make little planters out of our eggs? Is this a real thing or not? Is it even possible to do something like this? Well, let's discuss that and let's find out right now. So the first thing that we have to understand is that we need eggs. So what did come first, the chicken or the egg? All right, I'll give you 3 seconds. Yeah, I think it was the chicken first. Anyway, how do we make them so neat? I mean, take a look at this. Look how this top is just nice and taken off like this. Can you do that without sacrificing 3 or 4 dozen of eggs? Well, the idea is that when you take an egg and you crack it, it's going to get all sharded up like this. Now, there's no reason why we can't make this into some kind of a planter. It's just going to be a shallow planter. So if you don't have the tools that I'm going to show you today, then this is one way to do it. By the way, this is actually just super uber awesome to do with the kids. They absolutely love it. Okay, so is the idea to get that nice straight thing by taking this and doing like a samurai thing over here? 1, 2. No, I'm not going to do that because you're going to hurt your fingers. You're going to cut something off. That's not the way to go. What we're going to do first is that I'm going to show you a tool, but in a second, I want to show you the difference between 2 different types of eggs. Here, we have eggs that are from the market. And there's nothing wrong with these eggs. These were actually cage-free eggs. I don't know what kind of chicken that they come from because they're just white eggs. But these right here are chickens here from our thingsgreen.com botanical gardens. And you're going to tell that they're a little bit dirty on here. They have this sawdust on here. Technically, they're really clean. I have seen some eggs before that are just dirty and they have all kinds of yucky on top of them. Ours are pretty clean because they lay the eggs on a bed of sawdust. So what you see here is just sawdust. But why is it sticking to the sawdust? Well, you see, when a chicken lays its eggs, it puts a protective coating over the egg. We call it a bloom. And this bloom is necessary because it protects it. Now, here's the thing. If you have fresh eggs from a farm, you can leave your eggs out on the counter for up to about 2 to 3 weeks sometimes. So you have to determine what that time period is. So here in our test kitchen, that's exactly what we do. We just keep them just like this. But if they come from the store, we put them in the refrigerator. And the reason behind this is that when you buy them from the store, they're pre-washed. And the bloom and the protective coating that's on there is off. So when you do handle an egg that has a bloom on it or that is fresh, you have to make sure that you wash the egg and then especially wash your hands afterwards. That's super, super important. So because we're here in the greenhouse today, we're not going to worry about that because I'm going to have to wash my hands anyhow. I'm going to be wearing gloves for certain things and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so how do we get that nice clean cut? Well, I found a tool. And it is so awesome. Not very expensive. And it kind of looks like a tool that you would take and you would put in a band. You could, yeah, like that. But what it is that, I don't even know what you call it. It's an egg crackeroonie. Let's just call it an egg crackeroonie. But the idea is not to crack the egg. The idea is to puncture and to create a top off of it, I should say, and then take it off. Now, what we did in our testing over here is that we got these rootquencher.com peppers, and we found out that they were getting waterlogged. And I'm going to, in fact, if we can come over here, camera dude, I'm going to show you what we did over here. We did a test, and we did 18 eggs. I think there's 18 eggs here. We did all these eggs. These are the only ones that germinated. These did not. And you'll see that we have some of them that are bigger than the others. And the reason why some of them are bigger than the others is because I punctured holes underneath these things. But these are eggs. Eggs are delicate, but sometimes they're tough too. So there's two things that we did here. So I'm going to, let's do this real quick. We're going to move these out since we already showed them to you. What I did is that I ended up getting an egg carton. Now, egg cartons come in cardboard or they come in plastic. I like the idea of the plastic ones because we can use them. Now, can you see what we did here? We punctured holes inside of the plastic. Can you see my, like that? You say, there we go. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. But we punctured holes in here. And what I did, I just took a drill. I put the drill, I put this on a board like this, and I took the drill and I just drilled through it like that, all through the board. Now I knew I'm going to get water. Now, what about these things right here? Well, because I already was growing these things, I decided I was going to get some, I wanted to get some drainage in there. Because look, these are just like containers, right? Even though an egg is kind of, what's the opposite of impervious? Pervious? It kind of breathes. It does kind of breathe a little bit. It's not enough. So I don't know if we could tell, but can you tell that little droplet of water? You see a little droplet of water? Yeah. What I'm going to do right here? I'm going to take and I'm going to see how that water came off. That's because this is saturated. So what we want to do is that we not only want to cut the top off, but we want to puncture holes in the bottom. So we could do that ahead of time, or we can do that afterwards. If you're going to do it afterwards, you got to be very careful as you poke. In fact, let's poke one of these right now. This is just super saturated, and there's no reason. I mean, that's the reason why it didn't. I mean, look at all the water that's in here. See, where's the water going? So like any kind of container, we need to put a hole. So what I do is I have this fancy pin that I kind of pilferated from Mrs. Things Green. And we have to be very careful, and we have to just poke holes in it. Can you hear that? Yeah. So you notice I didn't do them real close to each other. I kind of separate them out. Put 3 or 4 holes in there, and then it'll eventually drip. See, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. See it dropping? That's coming from the bottom. Okay. Now the reason why it's so saturated like that is because here in the greenhouse, I water all the plants all at one time, even though I know that that might be a little bit too much water, whether it's for the established ones or for the other. But there's a medium in there that I'm pretty good with. But that's one thing that we have to remember if we're going to be using these eggs as containers. I never thought in my life I'd be talking about something like this. But anyway, it's still a lot of fun, isn't it? Now let's get over to the eggs. Let's get a fresh egg over here. And what I'm going to do is, do you know that when you hard boil the egg, you see that ring around the yolk, and there may be a little bit of a sulfur smell to it? Well, that's a natural thing that's in the egg. There is an interesting way on how to get rid of that smell, and it all has to do with this little pin right here. You can use, and make sure it's a thin pin. We don't want to use a pin that is super thick. Okay, so don't use a push pin. Use something that's a little bit thinner like this. Now what we're going to want to do is that an egg, if you notice on an egg when you hard boiled it, there's always a little bit of like an air pocket that's down here. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to take and we're going to eliminate that egg pocket. So if we weren't going to use this for what we're talking about right now, and I didn't want that ring around there, and I didn't want that little smell, we would just take this, again, being very careful. Let's see what happens here. We just want to put one little hole inside of the egg. That's it. Don't go too far because you don't want to break it. So that was that one insy-pincy thing. You're going to put this in hot water. It's going to boil. I don't know how many minutes you boil it for. And then you're going to see there's going to be a little of the egg white that comes out. You didn't do anything wrong. But when you open it up, then you could see how the egg goes right into the center of the egg yolk. So if you're going to be making deviled eggs, I love those kind of eggs. And then, and then it's going to be right in the center. It's not going to be off-centered. Okay, so we did that part. Now we have our hole for our drainage. Now this is where this comes in. You're going to sacrifice a lot of eggs until you get this part right, okay? So what you're going to do is, see this? What did we call this? I think we called it the eggaroonie. The eggaroonie thingamajiggy. So it has this little lip on here. It's just a piece of stainless steel. And technically what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to pull it back like this, and you slam it against here, and then it hits the egg, and then a little cap comes off. So let's see if I could do this without hurting it. Now, I've tried a lot of different methods. This is the method I find out that works the easiest for me. You actually have to take and hold it. Sometimes you have to hit it twice, sometimes once. If you do it too hard, it's going to crack. All right, that worked. Oh, see that? Now we're not going to waste these eggs. This top is going to come off. And if you don't think this isn't magic, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Here's my egg. This is what a fresh egg looks like. This was just taken out today. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Oh, I'm so excited. That's so cool. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to put this in water because we're going to wash it out. I don't want any of that egg residue in there. But let's also break open a market egg, okay? One that we got from the market. We're going to do the same exact thing here. Oh, by the way, and this piece right here, this little top, you can put with your other eggs, and then you can make and use that for your compost pile, as we talked earlier. So the same thing, you're going to put it over here on top like this. You're going to hold it. I hold it with just my thumb and my forefinger, and we're going to crack it. Sometimes once, sometimes twice, and then we're going to open it up, pull it off real slow. It's scored. You see that? Now this is an itty bitty egg compared to the other, and see, it looks just the same as this as far as the insides are concerned. It's empty. But what did I not do? Did you catch it? I did not poke it with the pin. Try to remember to poke it to the pin. So we will not waste these eggs. We will make sure that look a little bit of a color difference there. That's nice, fresh eggs. A little bit of a color difference there. Doesn't matter because we're going to be using the egg shells anyhow. So now that we have our egg shells, we have to take and we're going to clean them. So we put them in the water like this, and just wash them out like this, or put them under running water. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't take a whole lot to do that. Now what we do is we get our rag to wipe our hands off. Okay, now we have to plant these things. Now planting these things this is really a delicate operation. What I want you to do is I want you to get containers. Now here I recycle as much as I can all the time. So I have these little containers, and you could tell that they've had stuff inside of them. See, they had stuff. So let's pull these apart. See, look at, there was roots growing out of these things. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to clean these up. Now, how do we clean them up? Super simple. All you need to do is get yourself a bucket of water, or you can get yourself like a Chapin sprayer, and you just want to put a 5 to 10% solution of, or I should say, 10 parts of water to 1 part of chlorine. Okay, it could be like bleach, just bleach, and then all you need to do is dip it inside the bleach, dip it in the container, let them dry, wipe them out. You can do a second dip if you want, and they end up being nice and clean like this. But what about the eggs though? What are we going to do with that? How are we going to get them started? This is what we're going to do. We're going to have to make sure that our soil is nice and small, if you may. So what I like to do is I like to sift my soil for a project like this. So what I'm going to do is I got to put my gloves on in here because this is a messy thing. Put some gloves on. Now when I do my sifting, I do it in 2 different ways. Look, you don't have to buy anything fancy. You don't have to do anything fancy. You just want to be able to do stuff. So this right here came out of an air fryer that my wife had. Take some of this stuff out. And so what I'll do is I'll put my soil in here, and I'll go like this back and forth, and the soil goes right in there. That's one way of doing it. But because I'm doing the seedlings, I'm going to use this little itty bitty stuff right here. We're going to use this little itty bitty stuff, and I'm going to get some soil just out of a bucket, and I'm going to put this like this, and we could already see that there's parts in here, and we go back and forth, and you see the bigger parts right here, they're going to stay behind, and when they stay behind, we'll put it back in our soil. It's still good stuff, don't worry about that, but it's this little itty bitty tiny stuff that we want. Now what we do is we get our, this is fun, now what we do is we get our egg, and we're going to put our soil, and we're going to put our soil inside of it. And we don't want to pack it down too hard because we want the roots to go through. And then let's get the other egg over here for a second. Now remember what happened. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to fill this up with soil. But if you remember, we didn't poke a hole in the bottom of this one. So remember to poke that hole in the bottom. I'm going to hold it real gentle, but at the same time firm. And we'll put a couple of holes in it. So we've got our drainage. We've got our soil. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to plant. Look, if you're going to do this for kids, do something that grows fast. These right here are Sugar Daddy snap peas, one of my favorite. So all we're going to do here is take 1 seed, and then you could use a pencil, you could do whatever you want. This is called a dibble or dibbler, and then you just poke this right inside like this. See how that is? And you're going to drop that right in, cover it up. Let's do another one. I guess I have 2 of them here, making a big old mess. Oops. You put the dibble, drop it in, Now, you don't have to have a greenhouse to do this kind of stuff. You can do it any way that you want. I do have this, so I'll take and I'll water them. In fact, we'll just take just a little bit of water. We'll just use this for a second, just as an example, to get it started. That's all it's going to need because I have moist soil anyhow. That's going to grow. But all right, big deal. It started to grow. What do we do it afterwards? Well, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to get any plants growing out of this, any kind of vegetable out of it. So that's where these containers came in that I talked about earlier. So what we'll do is we'll fill this up with soil like this, pack it down a little bit, but we're not going to fill it all the way because I'll use this one. Our egg is going to fit in here, right? See how that's going to fit? But we don't want to leave it in here. We want to bust this up. So let's bust this up. And we could either leave it, or we could just bust it up like this and leave it and plant it just like this. Or you could take it off. Can we see the roots? See the little, look at that. Look at the roots. Look how they filled up. That's why they're growing so well. Look at those roots. It's just beautiful. Okay, so we're going to put this in here. It says the eggs aren't going to make any bit of a difference. Like I told you, it can be a super, super long time, but it's good for the kids. You backfill it like this. This is so exciting for me. There's so much. You have no idea how much I enjoy doing this because it's just a kick in the pants. So now what we're going to do is that we could actually have taken this and we could either have put it directly in the yard, or I could wait till this happens and it's going to, once I start seeing the roots from the bottom, then I would take this and I would just plant it in the garden. You can grow these in pots. This happens to be a pepper tree. It's going to need full sun, as well as the snap peas. They also need full sun to grow. So let's go through this whole method again. What did we do? We found eggs. We realized that homegrown eggs do not have to be refrigerated, but you have to eat them within 2 to 3 weeks, keeping them in a cool spot. If you get store-bought eggs always have to be refrigerated in order for them to grow for a longer period of time. If you wanted to use a smaller egg, or you don't have a fancy machine like I have, you could still use one that you've broken open, and you could still use this. There's no reason why you can't. But make sure that you wash it first. Now, after you wash it, you're going to want to use soil that is indeed that's sifted, because it has smaller soil particles. Once the soil is there, you take a dibble. You're going to put a dibble inside, and then you're going to fill up you're going to fill it up just like that. Get yourself just a dab of water to get it started. Put it in an area on your patio. Could be full. If it's full sun, you got to make sure to come back and you have to spritz it. If you really want to get these things going a little faster, I actually have these mats right here that plug in, and it keeps them warmer, and your germination rate is just so much better. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we grow plants in an eggshell. So, is it a real thing? Yeah, it is. As long as you follow the instructions that I just gave you. And thank you for calling the program. You know, there's a couple of questions that I get asked on my radio show all the time, and it's all about rabbit and squirrel control. And it's as if that these things can pole vault over your fence, even if you have a fortress built around your house. Well, they actually dig under, and they'll get in there and they'll devastate everything. Imagine for a second going to your favorite restaurant. They give you a big bowl of salad. Well, your yard and garden is a big bowl of salad, and you want to make sure that that salad is horrible tasting, unlike your restaurant. So what do? You get some Bob-X R animal repellent. They have a ready-to-use and a concentrate. And what it does is that once it's sprayed on the plants, by the way, for squirrels and rabbits, you don't have to go very far off the ground. It gives a horrible scent that they don't like, and they're going to skedaddle. Even if they taste it, oh my goodness, they're just going to run away. And the best part is it works on a whole bunch of other animals as well. Got to get back to the calls. Hey, thanks for calling. What's on your gardening mind? Thanks for joining me on another excursion of Things Green. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain so you can become exposed to a green lifestyle inside and outside of the home and community, all on your terms. Join me next time right here as we help you with Things Green.